evidence of corruption in Washington. New Jersey Democratic Senator Bob Menendez is facing more allegations of making positive comments about Qatar in exchange for lucrative items, including luxury wristwatches, per ABC News. The watches Menendez were allegedly offered were valued between $10,000 and $24,000, according to the new indictment. The indictment quoted co-defendant Fred Daibes saying, "How about one of these?" and a message to Menendez along with alleged photos of the watches.
The senator has pleaded not guilty to all prior counts. Back in 2021, Menendez and Daibes reportedly attended a New York City event hosted by the Qatari government. 2 days later, Daibes allegedly sent Menendez a message about a Senate resolution supportive of Qatar, according to ABC. Over on MSNBC, White House anchor Alicia Menendez, who's Bob Menendez's daughter, was filling in for Nicole Wallace and passed the baton off to Ari Melber to report on the latest allegations against her father. Let's watch.
We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with some breaking news right after this.
Hello, I'm Ari Melber with some breaking legal news. New Jersey United States Senator Robert Menendez now facing new allegations in a second superseding indictment that was filed by a federal grand jury from his D-N.J prosecution. Those prosecutors there at the Justice Department now allege Menendez received gifts not only for allegedly helping the government of Egypt, but also for helping a developer, Fred Daibes, get a multi-million-dollar investment from a company with ties to the government of Qatar.
All right. So, I mean, that's an awkward situation.
Yeah, I mean, they handled that correctly. If you have an anchor, that's better than when what they did with the Cuomos. It is a reminder, as so often appears to be the case. I mean, I've lived now in D.C. for 10 years continuously, and for 12 years on and off in political media in D.C. and New York. So many people have last names of political figures. Our sons and granddaughters and cousins, and and they're very hardworking people, and they do a lot of good work, and it can be an awkward situation, but often it's much easier to get your start in this work if you have someone well connected to introduce you.
Yeah, I was reflecting on...
Not all of us had such a luxury, but...
I think she does a good job, and
I'm really not knocking her.
Went to law school with her, but one example that comes to mind is Valerie Jarrett's daughter. I think is a legal contributor on MSNBC. It is the world that we live in, and sometimes it works out for the better. But I think the bigger issue, frankly, in corporate media is how many people are employees of defense contracting firms, are undisclosed campaign operatives, often conservative campaign operatives who they love to give a job on MSNBC, and who often carry water for the current administration, having recently left that administration, like Jen Psaki, which might be okay if there was some more acknowledgement of their own kind of political bias in the mix. But these are news outlets that hold themselves out as being affirmatively neutral. And in an instance like this, when there's a direct family tie, the very least you can do is sort of cut away.
Yeah.
Well, a new report shows politicians' stock trading estimations from 2023. And according to the data, some of the top performers include New York Congressman Brian Higgins, Tennessee Representative Mark Green, and Louisiana Congressman Garrett Graves.
Yeah, the reality is that a $10,000 watch is chump change compared to some of the winnings our elected members of Congress can earn from their stock stuff that we talk about on the show all the time. Is legal, but shouldn't be. Should be. Well, sometimes it's not legal. Sometimes they're actually operating off insider information, and a couple Republicans did go down for that in the 4 years ago now. But what Menendez is accused of doing is also quite bad, even if it's of a different character. Say being bribed essentially by advocates for a foreign government to say nice things about them or to subtly influence legislation in exchange for fancy dinners and fancy watches is maybe in fact the more kind of obvious corruption that can actually work up public anger and resentment.
Sure,
just because of the color of it. But
the ProPublica reporting of the overwhelming number of gifts that Clarence Thomas received from people who both came before him in the court and people who stated their desire to exert their influence with him has not resulted in any ramifications for him as well, and has not been anywhere near a top-page story in the same way that, say, a Harvard professor's plagiarism accusations have been. So it does feel like the media plays a role in this. Public opinion only goes so far, and the reality of our country is that for most people there are no consequences for the kind of play-to-pay schemes that are common in Washington.
Well, right. Menendez has faced actual charges in the past for violating, because there are rules that Congress has to abide by on some of these gifts that have not, that some people would like them to apply to the Supreme Court, but have not applied yet. So we will see if what kind of consequences he faces for these disclosures, and we will have more Rising right after this.